Hello, my friends. Svetlana Shlopak from UKVisaSuccess.com is here, where the UK immigration system is explained in simple terms. This is part 4 of my permanent rights of residence in the UK series. If you're not part of it, you're more than welcome to subscribe by clicking the link below, where by subscribing to this link, you will be getting plenty of information regarding a possibility to make permanent right of residence application for EU nationals and their family members. My previous video series was dedicated to EU nationals who ceased activity in the UK, who for certain reasons stopped working in the UK. This one is all about family members of EU nationals who ceased activity. So if you are a family member of an EU national who is no longer working in the UK for certain reasons, this video series is for you. So let us begin.
If you think that permanent right to reside rules are too complex, stay with me until the end of this video and I'll make it for you a very easy, enjoyable and straightforward subject. Especially with this category, this is because you have to only prove 2 elements here. Element number 1, you need to prove that you are a family member of an EU national, and element number 2, that your EU national family member has ceased activity in a way which is covered by the regulations. It is actually very simple, as I've already explained these parts in my previous videos, but let me once again remind you who can qualify as a family member for the purposes of this particular regulation. There are 2 types of family members, direct and extended. Let me start with the direct family members. There are 3 categories of people who may qualify as direct family members. Category number 1, spouses or civil partners. Pretty straightforward. Category number 2, direct descendants, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren of an EU national or his or her spouse or civil partner. And these children should be either under the age of 21, or you will need to prove full financial or partial financial dependence on EU national or his or her spouse. And category number 3 of direct family members is dependent direct relative in the descending line of an EU national or his or her spouse. This will include parents, grandparents, etc. With regards to EU national students, the rules are slightly different, as only students, spouses and dependent children will qualify. Okay, this was the direct family members category, and there are also extended family members. In order for an extended family member to qualify, they have to be issued with a EEA family permit, a registration certificate or a residence card. In other words, they will need to prove that they have been officially recognized by the Home Office or British Embassy as extended family members. And these documents should be enforced at the time of making this permanent residence application. Okay, who can be recognized as an extended family member? Well, there are 4 categories here. Category number 1, she is a relative of an EU national, and before he or she, of course, it can be either male or female, is a relative of an EU national, and before the departure to the UK, this relative was either residing with the EU national in another country or was financially dependent upon the EU national. And in the UK, this relative will either continue to be dependent financially on the EU national, or he or she will be a member of EEA national's household. Category number 2 is a relative of an EU national who is on serious health grounds, strictly requires personal care of an EU national. Category number 3, a relative of an EU national who would meet the requirements of immigration rules other than those relating to entry clearance for indefinite leave to enter or remain in the UK as a dependent relative of an EU national. This particular category is very rare and the threshold is very high, and you need to gather very strong objective documentary evidence before attempting to make this particular application. And the last category, category number 4, is all about partners in durable relationship, those who are not married. There are a number of conditions which people in this situation need to meet in order to qualify, and due to time restraints, I will not be explaining them here. But if you want to dig further into this subject, by all means, subscribe to my permanent right to reside video series at bit.ly/PR rules, and in one of my emails, I'll explain how you can get this information. Now that you are absolutely crystal clear about who a family member is of an EU national, we need to concentrate on the second element. We need to establish if an EU national can be legally classified as a worker who ceased activity. EU nationals who ceased activity. Very few of you actually know that EU national workers who stopped working under certain conditions may still be entitled for permanent residence in the UK. What are these conditions? Well, there are actually 4 possible conditions where an EU national worker who ceased activity and who may qualify. So condition number 1, an EU national has terminated activity as a worker or self-employed person and had reached the age of entitlement to a state pension on terminating that activity. Or, in the case of a worker, ceased working to take early retirement. And also that EU national pursued activity as a worker or self-employed person in the UK for at least 12 months prior to the termination, and he or she has resided in the UK continuously for more than 3 years prior to the termination. Condition number 2, the condition is that an EU national terminates activity in the UK as a worker or self-employed person as a result of a permanent incapacity to work and had resided in the UK continuously for more than 2 years prior to the termination, or the incapacity is the result of an accident at work or an occupational disease that entitles the person to a pension payable in full or in part by an institution in the United Kingdom. Condition number 3 is that an EU national is active as a worker or self-employed person in another EU state but retains a place of residence in the UK and returns as rules once a week. And prior to becoming active in another member state, he has been continuously resident and active as a worker or self-employed person in the UK for at least 3 years. And the last condition, condition number 4, is when an active worker or self-employed person who became active in another member state and retained a right of residence in the UK, but at least once a week, but they have not resided in the UK for at least 3 years. So basically very similar category to category number 3, but with the only difference is that in condition number 4, the EU national will not satisfy the residence rule. And this was the end of part 4 of the video series on permanent right to reside for EU nationals and their family members. If you haven't already done so, feel free to subscribe to all 6 parts of this video series. You'll get tons of value and you'll find it clear and useful. Also, please feel free to like, subscribe and share with those who may find this useful. I spend lots of time creating these videos and have actually lots of fun doing them, and I'm so glad that so many of you find my videos useful, and I really appreciate that you find the time to reflect this back to me, so thank you very much for that. So my dearest friends, this is all for now. All the best and have an amazing day.